background music. My God, his name is Matthew DeSantis. I'm Louis Rabeau, Horse Racing Happy Hour, hanging out with you on a February 27th edition of the show. 3 Derby preps this weekend. So, of course, I went to the one that is least predictive for the Kentucky Derby, and that is the Gotham up in New York, going a mile over one turn. His name's Matthew DeSantis, failed to menace on all the socials. From NYRA Bets, joins us anytime we talk Long Island. How is Long Island, young Matthew?
It's actually, I dare I say, maybe a fake spring right now.
A little fake spring. We had it yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit of nice weather. It's in the 50s. I went outside. I didn't have to have a coat. Looks like it's going to be nice weather for this weekend up here, which is quite unusual for Gotham weekend, which is usually a sloppy sealed track and maybe a riderless horse trying to cross the finish line first, as we saw with How Great Is Nate a couple years ago. But yeah, it can be a little chaotic up here. But like I said, beautiful weekend, and it should be a good card of racing on Saturday.
I'm with you. The card looks awesome. 4 stakes on the card on Saturday up there at Aqueduct Racecourse in Ozone Park in Queens. We'll be there in a month, and that's our big announcement on the show today. We are heading as a show up for the Wood Memorial there, Horse Racing Happy Hour. We want to see you in Queens. New York is our number 3 market on the podcast. We would love to see you out there as well, working with Patrick, the folks behind the scenes there at NYRA, to get our show together for that Saturday as well. Special guest Barry Spears, I'm flying him in. And by the way, I'm pointing, Horse Racing Happy Hour is flying people around now. This is getting to be a little more serious than I'm okay with, but if you're going to fly people around, you go get the sniper. He's going to join us up there in Ozone Park. And of course, come meet producer Zach. That's really what people want in their lives, is to meet producer Zach. So there you go.
I know that's why I'm going to be, I mean, granted, I work there, but that's still why I'll be showing up, is just to see producer Zach. And hopefully maybe there's, if you're flying, there's a little bit of a spread you guys can have out there as well. I mean, you guys are, living the high life, bringing Sniper up from Florida, which, by the way, congratulations getting him up to Florida anytime before summer. That's like in and of itself moving heaven and earth.
You are not incorrect. And here's the thing. We're going to have giveaways with this. So be watching the socials at Horse Happy Hour if you have not found us on socials yet. We're going to have giveaways with the Wood Memorial. And, of course, I now go to you, young Matthew DeSantis. The last 2 horses to win the Derby coming out of the Wood Memorial, not necessarily the winner, were?
Well, I mean, so it would have been, Fusaichi Pegasus won in 2000 as the winner. And then, wasn't Smarty,
isn't it 2002?
No, I know it was the horse that finished second or third and then came back to win. Who was it? I'm blanking.
I'm blanking on it as well. I did this last.
Is it Funny Side?
I think it's Funny Side. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so, yep. Who is the Wood Memorial named for? Can we do that?
Wood Memorial named for? Louis, what are you doing to me?
Eugene Wood is what we were going for, but of course we're going to be talking Gotham this weekend up there at Aqueduct. Again, we'll be up there for the Wood Memorial. We would really, and I think people think I'm kidding, Matthew. You've been around me enough. When I say please show up and hang out, I mean please show up and hang out. Like, I really legitimately mean it. People in Louisville have learned it. Like, hey, I'm going to be in 320 at Churchill Downs. Come say hi. I'll have a cigar for you. They show up. I've got a freaking cigar for you. Come out and say hi.
Come out and say hi. And let me say this for people listening up in New York right now. We're not going to be racing at Aqueduct for much longer. So this is an opportunity to come up and say goodbye potentially to a track that means so much to this city. And we're all very excited for the new Belmont Park. We can't wait to move into it. But ultimately, Aqueduct on a big day is still very special. I still think of it as the track that I saw as a kid when I watched the Bronx Tale and the Mush, and, just Chaz Palmer and Terry rip the tickets up, just walking out, and so it's a track that it's the city's track. Take the A train in and let's have a good time up there.
Yeah, get on up there. They've actually been running at Aqueduct for significantly longer than they've been running at Belmont, for example. And so obviously the move to Belmont, as Andy Serling once said, we don't need 2 tracks 8 miles apart in 2025. It just is the reality of the world there. On Long Island, we'll get into the handicapping in a second. I do want to remind everybody, though, about our friends over at Louisville Executive Aviation. 2 months until the Derby, which is why we have all of these great preps this weekend. But if you are looking to charter a flight into Kentucky for the Derby race, they're going to have a cookout on both Oaks and Derby Day. So get in on that with our friends over at the Louisville Executive Airport, the cheapest spot for you to land. Shuttle service to and from the track as well. So if you do happen to fly in on Derby Day, they'll have you covered, take you straight to the track and back. That's at LouisvilleExecutive.com. LouisvilleExecutive.com. the shortest taxi times and the lowest prices in the area. Get in with our friends over there at Bowman Field. All right. So, look, I have to do the thing where I ask you if you have a Derby favorite or if you have an Oaks favorite coming into this weekend. I'm not at all sure, Matthew, that there is I think that on the Oak side, especially, it's very deep at the top as far as the quality. I think with the Derby, we have a couple of horses, unusually, by the way, like a Citizen Bull, for example, that's already really clinched his spot. We know what he is. We saw it late in 2024. We've seen it again in early 2025. A lot made, by the way, of that first start as a 3-year-old on the Colt side. If you want to win the Derby, right? So Fierce just had a fine year bouncing back after what was a lackluster debut last year. But as far as wanting to win the Derby, you got to be great first off the bench. We've had a couple of those examples, and Citizen Bull certainly stands out in that group. Do you have a Derby at this point? And are people just overlooking Citizen Bull at this point? I think they are, aren't they?
I think they are, in the same way that I think sometimes we tend to overlook the 2-year-old champion as being just, well, maybe a precocious horse who just, was more physically developed and was able to dominate the 2-year-olds. And, well, they don't take the step forward from 2 to 3 necessarily. And I think we've seen that with some horses recently. Obviously, Forte and Fierceness, 2 horses that, were very good at 2. And then at 3, just kind of also had good 3-year-old campaigns, but didn't win the Derby for one reason or another. And so I do think Citizen Bull is being overlooked, in part because, Louis, I think the story is Bob Baffert's got about 7 horses that I feel like could win the Kentucky Derby, and Citizen Bull might be his 3rd best out of that group. So
right.
I think that's why, this weekend is going to be so exciting to see Barnes run back and try 2 turns for the first time. That's the horse that I'm most eager to see. Okay. And honestly, though, out of that race, out at in Santa Anita to San Felipe, if you made me bet on a horse today, I'd bet on Journalism. I love that horse. I think that is a horse that is bred for distance, and I just think that horse is going to get better and better and better. I don't think Saturday sets up well for him, but I think he's a horse that's going to get the necessary points to get in the gate between there and the Santa Anita Derby, and I think the Kentucky Derby is the type of race he's going to love because he's going to like that 1.25 miles. He's going to like coming from off the pace. But I agree with your general assessment, though. Very kind of not diluted, but just very open Derby picture, I feel like, right now. And the Oaks, you're right, between Lacara and Tenma and, some of those horses, a Good Cheer, and even now Quiet Side kind of finally breaking through and getting that win. I feel like there's a lot of really strong contenders on the Oaks side. And it's an exciting picture. And I think this weekend's going to clarify a lot with Sovereignty, River Thames, and Burnham Square down in Florida as well.
Yeah, no, a ton of those opportunities around the country. If you are interested in those shows, we're talking to Matthew about Long Island today. I'll have Brian Nadeau on from Gulfstream Park tomorrow morning on Rabeau & Co. We'll release that on this platform as well. And then SoCal Saturdays with my guy, Barry Spears. We'll do that full card on Big Cap Day. San Vicente, of course,
it's a good day.
Of that.
Yeah.
It's a spectacular card, too. I was just looking at that as well. I talked with Aaron Wellman on Blood Horse Monday this past week, and we were like, hey, let's talk about Built and the cool story there. And he was like, journalism. Let's talk about journalism. I feel like we need to talk about journalism. Can we get journalism? And it's like, okay, that's the old, I don't need to read between the lines. You're just telling me what the lines are. And that is journalism. They are very high on that horse. And so they think quite a bit of him. Of course, he'll be going that race not until 6:45 on Saturday evening, but we will be watching for that. Matthew DeSantis with me, Louis Rabeau hanging out on the horse racing happy hour. Let's get into our handicapping for the weekend. And you know what? I'll let you go first here, Matthew. What's going on at NYRA Bets right now?
Yeah, listen, we got a lot of different promotions. You have a $200 deposit match bonus if you go to NYRA Bets or NYRABets.com. You can download the app, sign up today. We have promotions going every single day across the country, whether it is hit and splits for late pick fives, whether it's 20% exacta bonuses, whether it is $10, win bet reimbursements if your horse has finished second or third. So we got all sorts of things. Actually, next month in March, we have a really exciting promotion where if you hit 3 out of the 4 legs of the pick 4, you actually get some money back. So you get a consolation promotion there on a pick 4. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on in NYRA Bets. And then we have the YouTube channel with all sorts of great stuff and content up there as well.
There you go. He is Matthew DeSantis, and you can find him on that NYRA Bets YouTube page. He will be wearing a hat in every video that you watch. The grade 3 Tom Fool starts the middle pick 4 in race 4 on the card there on Saturday at Aqueduct. This is a 6 furlong grade 3 on the dirt there, 175 in the kitty here. This is for 4 and up, a smaller field of 6. So they moved it to the early pick 5 here. Matthew, your morning line maker up there, and David Aragona has put Running Son of a Gun at 5-2 and Top Gunner as the favorite, coming out of an absolutely massive buyer speed figure and all those things in an optional claimer last out. Can he repeat that performance? It seems more of an outlier for him rather than the norm, Matthew.
It does seem like an outlier. Just looking at his figures, it's his first triple digit. And, yes, he definitely moved forward with Brad Cox taking over a couple months ago. And, back in 2024, moved forward and won that park sprint. By the way, I should say that I'm surprised Flavian Pratt didn't have night goggles on for that race because it was almost run in the dark. But
Yeah.
it was, won that race. But, yeah, he's more of a kind of a mid 80s to low 90s kind of buyer speed figure. So that 104 really stands out as maybe being a bit anomalous, and also came with Lasix. Now we're switching off Lasix. I'm not sure that horse can get the gate to wire trip. As much as I have respect for Brad Cox and Manny Franco, he's a horse I'm going to try to beat in this particular race. I think you can go in a couple different directions. Running Son of a Gun is maybe not the most winning type, and I think that's why I've also kind of shied away from him a little bit. I think a horse like the number 3 Full Mood Madness for Michelle Nevin can sit just off the pace with Kendrick Carmouche. This is one that, again, needs to kind of get a win with Lasix, but ran well the last 2 times out in the Gravesend in the Toboggan. And then a little bit better value, 9-2. He's going to need the right trip, but Bold Journey for Bill Mott is a horse that at one point was really running well up here in New York, went overseas, ran over in Maidan in the Golden Shaheen, and has only just started making his way back, has one prep race under his belt that came with Lasix, a 3rd place finish to Cyclone Mischief. But I think he can absolutely move forward in this spot. And Bill Mott is not Bill Mott because he spots his horses in bad spots. So I think, that's a horse that could give you a little bit of value in a short field.
I think Bold Journey is my top pick here. Has won over the track a half dozen times. And so just give me the horse that's got the experience there. Frankly, second off the layoff. That first race, like you mentioned, after being in the Arabian Peninsula for so many horses is so difficult. So second off the layoff in that spot to me does make a lot of sense. There, we're talking Gotham Saturday at Aqueduct with our guy, Matthew DeSantis up there in NYRA Bets and on Long Island. An allowance in race 5, state bred here. Matthew, essentially for fillies and mares 4 and up, going 6.5 furlongs on the dirt, 76K in the kitty here. Can you tell folks too, something I like to do as we go around the country with this show? It looks like NYRA's going to step up, to support their breeding program by upping the purses for a lot of these state bred races as well. Running for 76 here, which by the way, is nothing to sneeze at. It's a legitimately good purse anywhere in the country for an allowance. But what would that look like, say, in the new system? Would it be closer to 90, something like that?
Yeah, it'll be closer to 90. So it's going to end up matching what our open allowance races are going to be. We're going to do that with maidens. We're going to do that with allowances. So you're going to start seeing that equality between open company and stakes and state bred company. I think all you have to do is look at what they're doing down in Arkansas, quite frankly, in Oaklawn, with those purses for those Archie bred races. And you get to see the quality of those horses starting to really improve over the last several years. And we have such a strong breeding program up here in New York. And, when we get to the Gotham, the top 3 choices are all New York breds. And we got a New York bred who might be the favorite down in the Fountain of Youth and River Thames for Todd Pletcher. So, these are really good horses that are getting bred up here. And it's going to be great that they're going to be able to run for equal purse money starting in a couple of years.
We have a coupled entry here because no one loves coupled entries quite like the New York circuit. But Ariana Rye will come in as the favorite. 5-2 here out of the Falcone barn, has run second in a couple in a row at this level. Before that, of course, did win in a starter allowance before that. Worthy favorite here at 5-2 feels a little wide open here, Matthew.
It does feel wide open, and I worry that this horse is a bit more of a need-to-lead horse. Maybe one pace, doesn't really like passing others. From that inside rail, Sophia Vivas up on the mount. I like Sophia a lot, but I just don't know if this horse is quick enough to actually get to the lead in this race. There's some other speed to the outside, so I just worry about the trip that this horse is going to end up taking. I really like the number 7 Catchphrase at 3-1 for Amelia Green. People might not be familiar with that name, but she's a longtime assistant to Todd Pletcher and has just recently struck out on her own. She got a bunch of horses transferred to her from Todd's barn, actually, which I thought was a great sign. They have a very good relationship, and he was very happy for her when she broke out on her own. But this is a Will Walden horse that was actually her very first winner that she saddled up. And so this is one that's now stepping up in class. This horse has outstanding early speed, keeps Kendrick Carmouche aboard, and I always like Kendrick on a speed horse. So Catchphrase at 3-1 is a horse that I have my eye on. And because of that coupled entry, probably that coupled entry is going to take some money. You figure the favorite's going to take a little money. Maybe Catchphrase floats up 7-2, 4-1.
Linda Rice has first class acted here, the 9 horse, off a little bit of a layoff here, which I really like for this one. Last time that horse ran off of a layoff, ran a good second at this level over 6 furlongs. So I think that's one, if you're filling out an exacta trifecta, first class cat, the 9, I think you should include in your tickets. We move on to the stymie. It will be race 6 on the card there at Aqueduct. This is the mile race. By the way, I had an idea, Matthew. I want to run it past you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
We are about to talk about 4 races in a row that are all 1-turn miles.
Yeah.
This should have been a pick 4. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing, NYRA, but let's get it together. Let's start doing pick 4s with random random sequences that
I'm here for it, Louis.
To be fair, it is the Grand Slam, so you could play that bet, which is a very fun bet. Go ahead and look that one up. But essentially, you try to pick horses that hit the board the first 3 races and the winner of the 4th race. But this is a mile for 4-year-olds and up on that 1-turn mile course. I do love this course. I love a good 1-turn mile race, whether it be here or Aqueduct or Saratoga or Ellis Park, whatever it might be. Where did you land in the stymie?
Yeah, and the stymie, I really was looking around at some of the other, the favorites again. And Bank Frenzy's a horse that admittedly is a nice horse, but is largely doing its damage against State Bred Company in terms of stakes races. And Coastal Mission's a horse that I don't really think likes the mile. I think this is a horse that's better at 7 or 6 furlongs. And so while I love Coastal Mission as a horse, 3-1 just felt like a little bit of a short price. I ultimately landed on Yo Daddy for Linda Rice with Kendrick up as well. This one has admittedly not run great without Lasix in the past, though both of those were on the turf. So this is maybe a little bit of a different dynamic. And this is a horse that's just been in improving form the last several times out and can handle the mile distance, 3 for 5 winning, 3 for 5 at Aqueduct. And again, Kendrick and Linda, a good combination up here. I will say, if you're looking for a little bit more of a value, I think that Brittany Russell's horse Wooster is at 9-2 is a little bit interesting with Sheldon aboard. This is one that used to be in the Baffert barn that's been transferred to Brittany, switching off Lasix, trying Stakes Company for the first time, but she's clearly got this horse going in the right direction.
That's my top play in here because of value and lots of other reasons. And so I'll be hoping that she is she's got this one in exactly the kind of spot that you're talking about in that case. Like you said, son of Empire Maker in this case, just has been really, really good at 7 furlongs, has done it at a mile before at Del Mar under the Bob Baffert. Obviously that's 2 turns, but we've seen just as well over 7 furlongs there at Laurel Park. Like you said, though, the question here will be Lasix for sure. But I thought, for example, he was in the Robert B. Lewis a couple of years back with no Lasix, ran totally fine. So hopeful that kind of form can carry as well. Then the Oaks prep for the day will be the Busher. We go another mile trip on the dirt course there. The tarp is still down, people. $200,000 there. 3-year-old fillies, 50 points toward the Kentucky Oaks. Unlike the Wood Memorial, the New York preps for the Kentucky Oaks have been predictive of some good running in the past. Malathat comes to mind, of course, in recent runs coming out of the New York circuit. 3-1 on Sharp Smile on the outside here. 7-2 on Ramify in the 2. We trying to beat those, or are we running with those?
Ramify is a little bit interesting. I think the cutback in particular from going in a mile and an eighth in the Busanda, I think the 1-turn mile actually fits this horse probably a little bit better and going shorter. And it comes from a very good female family as well. And, Munning, it's interesting pedigree because it's Munning's up top and Tappet underneath. So you get that speed influence up top and really the endurance and distance influence underneath. And Chad is obviously very formidable in this spot. The horse broke its maiden going a mile at Aqueduct. I do think my top pick, though, is actually going to be right next door. Drexel Hill at 6-1 for Whit Beckman. This one's getting the blinkers off. What's interesting to me about this horse is this one's been running against some nice company down at the fairgrounds. So you mentioned how predictive, some of these New York preps have been. In recent years, though, the New Orleans preps, the fairgrounds preps have been outstanding for the fillies. And the fact that Whit is moving this horse up to here, I think kind of says, listen, Whit's got a few fillies that he's, I think, trying to maneuver around the country to get into the starting gate, move him up here. Ben Curtis comes all the way up for the mount. He's not relying on a local jockey. Blinkers off 6-1. I think maybe he's been facing better competition than what some of these other horses have seen. So I think that horse at a little bit of a price is interesting. And so her and Ramify are my top 2 in this one.
Drexel Hill began her life, in the Mitchell barn at Woodbine, of all things. Transferred to to Whit Beckman, as you mentioned. I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, Matthew, and he very clearly has galvanized the experience he got with Anna Marie last year, right? So going through a 3-year-old season with a top contender in this kind of series, whether it be on an Oaks Acorn kind of level or it be on the Derby, Triple Crown kind of way. And it's just an abundance of riches, like you said, on that Philly side, right? And so you're right. He's having to learn how, hey, I got to spread these horses out. I got to go with this prep. I got to go to this prep. And hey, Ben Curtis, can you go to New York City for me for the weekend?
Right.
Kind of thing. But obviously people are buying in on it, right? Ben Curtis is willing to probably pass on 7-8 mounts at Fairgrounds on Saturday to
that's
go
the thing
for this. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. It might be indicative of how he feels about
it. And let me just say, Whit, kind of a little bit like I mentioned with Amelia Green, until last year, a lot of people probably didn't know who Whit Beckman was, but this is a guy who's an assistant to Todd, an assistant to Chad. Like, he knows how to spot these. Like, he understands the need of that operation, particularly from learning from Todd, of how to spot these Derby Oaks prep contenders all across the country. He's got a great mind for that. And I think he's kind of a rising star in our sport.
As far as the 1-turn mile, you've got Ramify that you mentioned, who's won at the distance and at Aqueduct before. We've also got, for example, Sharp Smile, who won in the slot, but in a maiden race over the mile.
Yeah.
What about a horse like She's Fascinating, who won last out, is on, second off the layoff here, essentially. Shot here. I love the 5-1 price.
Yeah, the 5-1 price is good. The only question is Lasix. The big number last time out came with Lasix. You wonder, the first 2 efforts were kind of low 50s buyers. Does she regress at all from that? But again, that was also first off the bench. So maybe they just needed a little bit of time to continue to mature and progress. And now this is kind of the new version of her. So I think that, again, this race feels pretty wide open. I wouldn't want to take a short price in this one at all. I think you can make a case for a few. And I also have to shout out horse Volleyball Princess, the number 4. She is one of only 4 North Carolina breds in her entire crop. And you don't see many North Carolina breds. And I lived in North Carolina for 8 years, know a lot of great horse people down there. So when I saw her win the Ruthless last time out, I was thrilled for her. And that just would be a cool story. And, obviously we've seen like Lonnie Briley and, Ian Wilkes with great, horses on the Derby trail. It'd be fun to see a story like a North Carolina bred making it to the Kentucky Oaks.
The Grade 3 Gotham is the Kentucky Derby prep on the card, and so we will talk about that one next. We always like, Matthew, on this show to play a ridiculous game of can the horse win or not. And this week, in the spirit of the Gotham, if a horse can win, we're calling him Batman. If the horse can't win, you got it, we're calling him Robin. All right, so getting into it, it is a Grade 3. It's called the Gotham. It is 1 mile over the dirt there, over the 1-turn at Aqueduct, $300,000 in the purse here. A Grade 1 purse for a Grade 3 race. I love a very, very long shot in this race, Matthew, but who did you land on in the Gotham? We will get there in a second by going through horse by horse. Scorching comes up first. He draws the rail. He won last out via disqualification, did this son of Motown. Bred in Ontario. We're seeing these Ontario breds everywhere. It makes me very uncomfortable, this Canadian invasion of our country. But here we are. Eric Cancel gets the amount here. Batman or Robin?
I'm going to go Robin on this one, trying dirt for the first time. A little bit of a toss.
Succinct it to the point. His name is Matthew DeSantis. That's
I didn't know how much you wanted me to go on about this.
About how it can't win. This is here's another reason. Here's another reason why this horse can't win on the horse racing happy hour.
Yeah. Well, let me just say the other thing I will say is there's a fair amount of speed in this race, and this is a horse that I think is going to have a lot of speed, and I think could just get sucked up into that and fade late. And the other part is Eric Cancel. I like him a lot as a jockey. He can get hot sometimes. I always worry about Eric on the inside. He prefers to be outside. He doesn't like inside moves. And so I just worry what sort of trip this horse is going to get from that rail spot.
This horse has now been in all 4 of the inside gates to start its career, 2, 4, 3, and now 1 to start its career in the gate positions. Normandy Coast is the second horse here. Ben Curtis gets them out here for Eddie Keneally. This horse also last ran under Ben in a 6-furlong race at Fairgrounds. A reminder to the audience, yes, we are trying to figure out who's going to be in the Derby, but this is a 1-turn mile. Batman or Robin on a 15-1 shot here coming out of the Fairgrounds.
Robin. No, I faked. Yeah, we're going Robin on that one.
You did fake me out, and I'm pretty impressed actually. Yeah, it is. I get it. It's sprinter route, but this horse did break its maiden going 7 at Ellis Park in that 2-year-old program last year. A son of Omaha Beach. We really, what the Omaha Beach thing that's very much a wait and see. Yes, I mean jury's still very much out on him as a sire. Yeah.
Oh, I like Omaha Beach quite a bit as a sire.
Okay.
I think I compared him, I think last year actually, to a cheaper version of Gunrunner, where like his offspring were just like crushing it in dirt sprints early on and wasn't really taking to the turf and synthetic. You've actually started to see that turn around a little bit. His offspring are starting to run better on all the other surfaces, but I like him a lot. I think he's a good value, honestly, as a sire. And he's very precocious offspring, and I think the 1-turn mile is good enough for them. I don't know how much they want to go beyond a 1-turn mile, but a 1-turn, absolutely.
It's the Derby scratch that's still, I mean, even more than Forte for some reason. Omaha Beach really bothered me. I don't remember why, but I will agree Robin here, but I think it's just because the horse isn't fast enough. I think it's literally just that. I just think it's not fast enough at this point. Calling card is in the 3-hole here for Mike Maker and Kendrick Carmouche. Those two won for their last 21 together at Aqueduct. But we do get a good price here, 6-1 on a Kendrick Carmouche, who does win 25% of his races there. Batman or Robin? What are we doing, Matthew?
All the way Batman. This is actually my top pick.
Nice. Tell us.
I love this horse. I think that this is a horse that, everybody's going to make a big point about Sand Devil and Sacrosanct, and we'll get to those in a second. But this is a horse that freaked first time on the dirt against New York breds. And based upon that, Mike Maker was like, we're stepping this baby up, and ran against Open Company in a way that the others have not, and faced a horse like Sandman, then went to the Lecomte and ran, admittedly, a bad race over a wet track. But we've seen that Lecomte, Louis, come back much faster next time out. Magnitude, built, even Maximum Promise at down at Turfway, I should say. All these horses got faster off of that very slow figure in the Lecomte. And so I think this is a horse that absolutely will be able to move forward, and you get the blinkers added, won't be coming from as far off the pace, leaving as much to do, but I think we'll love the setup in this race because there's plenty of speed in front of him.
Mike Maker 6 for his last 94 in graded stakes to see if he can pick off one coming up here. I'm just being a jerk. Don't worry. All right. So next is one of the favorites. It's Sacrosanct, another New York bred. This is out of the Brad Cox barn. Manny Franco, gets the mount here, 31% with him and Brad Cox. Got to think Batman here, at least a shot here. Yeah, Matthew?
Oh, absolutely. No two ways about it. Very good horse, has never done anything wrong. Won at the distance. And, the fact that really the top competition here is other New York breds. You're not really worried about this stepping up to, graded stakes Open Company or anything like that. And interesting to see how this race sets up, as the horse can rate a little bit, but Manny might just try to go straight to the lead.
4 for 4 lifetime, 3 of those runs coming at Aqueduct, one of them over the mile course that we will see on Saturday at Aqueduct. His name's Matthew DeSantis. I'm Louis Rabeau. This is the Horse Racing Happy Hour. We're previewing the Aqueduct last 7 races on the card because Matthew's a good sport. The Sand Devil falls into the 5-hole here, 9-5 favorite, as set by morning line maker David Aragona up there. Linda Rice trains this one. Another undefeated horse. We've got several in this race, 3 in a row that we're going to talk about, but 3 lifetime runs. Broke his maiden back in December on Remsen Day, and has since come back, won over the mile with a 90 speed figure, and then a 93 speed figure in the Runyon last out. Pretty serious contender here, Matthew.
Oh, absolutely. He's a Batman for sure. I'm going to try to beat him, of course, but just because he's a short price. And I think that, you could point to the fact that big effort over the mile 2 back was with the addition of Lasix. Last time really had to dig down and, out finish a horse like National Identity, who Sacrosanct beat in his last start. And, has obviously only had that one stakes race. But listen, I'll just say one thing about this horse. A ton of talent, rooting for him, is rooting for Linda Rice. But Jose Lezcano's got to give him a better ride than last time. He strangled out really slow fractions going 7 furlongs, and in my opinion, invited the rest of the field into that race in a way that he should not have. When you have a horse with this sort of speed, let him go fast. Just blow the field away. Don't invite everybody else into it. And I think he made that last race much tougher for the horse than it should have been.
Sand Devil 9-5. I imagine the number won't change too much from there. It'll probably be right around 2-1 by the time we get 2 post time. A horse that will not be 2-1 is Pagode in the 6th hole for Paulo Lobo and Luan Machado. I ask this in a very serious way. Whenever I talk about Long Island and races on Long Island, I talk about the deep dirt and the deep, all the stuff, the sandy, all the things. How do horses translate from a synthetic surface to Aqueduct generally, and especially Turfway? So I know it's different than, say, what they have at Finger Lakes, something like that.
Yeah, and Presque Isle as well, where they where they run synthetic and then they go they come here. We don't get a ton of synthetic shippers, but a lot of times the biggest comp is Woodbine. That with the Woodbine horses coming down,
Fair enough,
and that's where we see it. And so they tend to run honest, but maybe not quite as well. Although I sometimes think that has more to do with the level of competition than it does. Because a lot of times it's like a stakes race, and you see some Woodbine horses coming down. So it's not as if they can't take to the surface. It's just maybe they're not quite good enough to win that particular race, but it's not as if they get done running and they're just like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing that again. So yeah, I think they can take to it pretty well. And synthetic to dirt is an angle that I know a lot of people like to play, myself included. You get the Axeman up here. Paulo Lobo is, a guy who I tend to trust in these types of spots. And 30-1 is a big price on a horse that could really step forward in this race.
Batman or Robin?
I'm gonna go Robin, but he's on all my verticals.
Okay, interesting. All right, okay. Matthew, just in case someone's new and they're checking in on Derby Trail, what's a vertical bet?
Oh, yeah, sure. So it's an exacta, trifecta, superfecta. It means, listen, I don't think the horse can win, but I like to use him underneath. That's the way I like to use a lot of big prices a lot of times. Hey, I might have this, 9-2 horse up top, but hey, there's this 15-1 horse that I think is going to really outrun their odds. Put them in an exacta, put them in a trifecta. It's a way to enrich your bet if you're not just playing pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s.
Horizontal, if you think about it being flat, is race to race on a card, and if you think of vertical, it's the finish order within a single race. If you are thinking about it that way, Flood Zone will be in the 7 hole for Raylu Gutierrez, making the trip up from having ridden this horse at Gulfstream Park for Victor Barbosa Jr. This horse is jumping to the Brad Cox barn for the first time. That is a very good angle for him. I'm almost certain it's usually not in a grade 3 that horses get their first starts with Brad Cox. What do you think of Flood Zone at 12-1?
He's intriguing, and I don't really know what to think of this horse. And what makes it more curious is that of course, Cox has Sacrosanct in here, who's another horse with very good early speed. I have a hard time thinking they're going to burn each other up on the front end. And so part of me wonders if this horse maybe plays interference a little bit with Sand Devil, or tries to kind of tire out Linda's horse, depending on how things go at the break. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the express purpose the horse is in the race, but It's just interesting to me that Cox, again, it's like when the Baffords run against each other. They're not going to both do the same thing. So to that regard, it's kind of interesting. The horse had a huge perk up last time. That did come with Lasix at 6.5 at Gulfstream. Now we're going to Brad's barn. Obviously, the ownership and the connections have bigger, ideas here for this Florida bred. I'm going to go a little bit of a Robin just because I just don't have a good feel for this particular horse. And so I don't feel confident enough to say Batman in this one.
I'll go Robin as well. This is the classic, if he beats me, he beats me kind of horse for sure.
Yeah.
Trying the distance for the first time, trying a deeper surface for the first time. Raylu's having a tough start to the year as well. So I'm not sure, but to be fair, that's also championship meet, Gulfstream Park, like trying to get the mounts there amongst that group as well. So I'm not holding that against him too hard, but it is interesting. The Brad's having a fly in for it. Another one that is making the way up for Gotham Day there. The 8 is McAfee, a son of cloud computing. That's a good name. It's a good job. It really is. It's a good job by the cloud computing people. He comes in at 10-1. Lane Lucy for Richard Dutrow, of course, coming out of a second place finish over our one turn track that is right that way, right over there. Hi, Churchill. No, it's right there. And so that was here in town. Giving this one a try on the Derby Trail. Are we going Batman or Robin here?
I'm going Robin here. This horse is the half to Torpedo Anna, which is one of the reasons why this horse will attract probably more attention than he should. The other reason is this horse was a vet scratch, if I'm not mistaken, at least 2, if not 3 times before entering in this race. So clearly there's been an issue with this one. Dutrow trying to get this horse on the track, but just can't seem to stay healthy. There's always been an issue. So I'm even a little bit cautious whether this horse runs on Saturday at all.
Garamond is in the 9. This is a second-time starter for Chad Brown. Broke his maiden at Tampa over 6.5 furlongs. Sammy Camacho in the irons. Then Javier Castellano, man, and go ahead and bet against that guy with your with the money you don't want. 8-1 here, man. Second timer, Chad Brown, all the things.
It's a weird spot. It's a weird spot. We can just talk about the weirdness for a second.
Okay.
First of all, I looked this up because I was like, how many horses debut sprinting on the dirt at Tampa for Chad? And over the last 5 years, there have only been 15. But let me say this, 9 of them have won. So in the future, if you ever see a Chad Brown horse debuting at Tampa sprinting on the dirt, you just bet that horse with both hands, all right? Because he's winning at a 60% clip. However, I was really interested in what those 15 horses did in their next start.
Sure.
And many of them never ran again or just have not had a chance to run back since then because they just ran this year or this winter. The other, many have transitioned to turf in some instances, not surprising for Brad.
Right.
Only 2 have actually stepped up to stakes competition next time out. Both lost. And one was in the Sam F. Davis, one was in the Lafayette at Keeneland. And so both lost those next starts. And Chad honestly doesn't have – there are certain numbers that make me think this is not the greatest move. 2 for 27 over the last 5 years, switching 3-year-old dirt runners off Lasix in graded stakes races. 1 for 20 when those are routes. 1 for 11 sprint to route, second start in graded stakes races. So, it's a limited sample size, but there's some evidence that this isn't really a winning move. But, and there's always a but, you look at the pedigree. Uncle Mo up top, out of a Tappet mare, Juddmonte owned and bred. Yeah, Batman. Of course, this horse has a chance.
I saw the word Juddmonte and I was like, okay, that's why that horse is there. Okay. Yeah. I think your reasoning is totally legitimate, by the way, as well. We're talking grade 3 Gotham. My big old long shot is on the outside here, and that is with my Matoli, a son of Matoli, of course, comes out of a 1 mile win there by 5 1/4 lengths in an optional claimer with Lasix. But before that, of course, did it as well without Lasix in a maiden optional claimer. I think I'm going to get every bit of like 25-1 on this horse, Matthew. Like every single freaking bit with the connections and all the other things. Can Carlos Martin get his first stakes win here?
No, but I applaud your.
Let's go.
I know he's Robin for me, but I see where you're going with this, and it's not bad logic at all. This is a horse that has good speed, but has shown the ability to pass horses, sit a little off the pace. The outside post position in these 1-turn miles is always ideal. That's where you want to be. And this horse is on an upward trajectory. This horse has gotten faster the last 3 times out. Granted, last time was with Lasix, but I at least like that the horse was already trending in a positive direction before that. So there's things to like there. And honestly, if this horse is 25-1, it's a good play because I think 15-1 or lower, no thanks. 25-1 or higher, I'd take a swing with that.
I think he's going to tick right up into very playable categories. A reminder on this episode, we are presented by the Louisville Executive Airport, LouisvilleExecutive.com. Get in for all your travel here for Oaks and Derby, and maybe even for the sales, whatever you might be coming to town for. Go check them out. Bowman Field, LouisvilleExecutive.com. All right, last 2 on the card, Matthew. We'll get some quick picks from you to get you out of here. An optional claimer in race 9, another 1 mile 1-turn dirt race there at Aqueduct. 4 and up New York breds, non-2 essentially for $78,000 here. Matthew, are you sitting down? You are, right?
I am.
There's a coupled entry. I don't know if you're.
We do love them. We do love them.
So
you can't get enough.
Much. It's unbelievable. Well, you need to get more money in these purses so that these poor coupled entries can get more cash. But there are lots of nice horses in here. Quick to Accuse does stand out. Is in for the tag here. Ran in allowance company last out, but before that ran a really good second at a 1 mile allowance as well. Might be one that you lean on in your later tickets, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you just look, the last time this horse ran against State Bred Company, it just runs so well against this level. So, was running against Open Company prior to this, that dropped back down into State, now going in for a tag. Feels like this one's going to be pretty tough to beat. I will say, if you're looking to try to beat this horse, the number 4 Landoro for Clement with Romero Mirage up on the mount. I think this one, also has been looking very good the last several times out. And I think second back from a little bit of a freshening. So that one at 5-1 could provide a little bit of value. But yeah, quick to Accuse, top selection for me.
Closing the card, maiden special weight, 6 furlongs. on the dirt there. Of course, $74,000. This is 4 state breds again. Vakinda comes in as the 5-2 favorite in the 1 hole. It looks like Share the Loot will be the second favorite there in the 9 hole as well. Wide open race here, or do you think we can lean on a couple in this one?
You know, Vakinda is one I'm not trusting anymore. That's a horse that should have won so many times, seems to just run to her level of competition and but not win. And so otherwise you can't really explain the varying speed figures from race to race. There's no kind of rhyme or reason. This horse runs big, this horse runs small. It just has to do with who she's running against a lot of times. So hard to really rely on that one too much. I do think the number 6, America's Back for Mike Maker with the Axeman up, is a horse that actually debuted against Vakinda last time out. Had a little bit of a wide trip that day. I think could move forward second start. So that's one at 9-2 that I think is interesting. And then if you're looking for a really big price, Dio Romano, the number 12-1 for Mel Giddings. I love a good makeover package. This one's getting back on the dirt, gelding, blinkers on. We're throwing the kitchen sink at this horse. Let's go. One of those changes is ultimately got to work, Louis, right? And so, or at 12-1, at least I'm willing to find out. So I think those are 2 that are interesting to me in that last race.
Medicine, glasses, and testicles. So there you go. That's right. A little bit of everything for old Dio Romano and the closer there. Oh man. Well, there you go. There is our preview of the Gotham card on Saturday. We will be at the Wood Memorial next month. We would really love to have you come out to Queens with us. You can pet Matthew on the head. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but he's got great hair and I really don't. And so you can go out there and just kind of give him one of those. Do one of those. Do not do that to Barry. Do not. No, don't
do that to Barry.
No. All right. Well, that's it for today. We'll get up there. We'll see you. I think it's actually, is it 5? It's actually 5 weeks. I can't remember how this actually works because April 5th falls back and March is a weird month and where the new month starts on a 1st and then it's the thing. But anyway,
it'll be 5 weeks.
Okay, yeah. There you go. I will see you in 5 weeks, my friend. Obviously, we'll do some shenanigan-y things around the Wood Memorial and we'll have a great time.
Of course. Can't wait for it, Louis.
All right, NYRA Bets, NYRABets.com. Go see all of our friends over there. And at Failed to Menace for everything with Matthew DeSantis as well. LouisVilleExecutive.com presenting our coverage today on the Horse Racing Happy Hour of the Gotham. Happen to be coming in from New York. Hey, we got you covered at Bowman Field. Shuttles to and from the track, both on Oaks and on Derby Day. And a cookout all day so you don't have to worry about dinner after the races. Go by, grab a plate, and get on your plane and get back home right away. Easiest in and out here in the Louisville area. Well, for producer Zach, Matthew DeSantis, my name is Louis Rabeau. Thanks for hanging out with us this week on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. We'll be back next week. Preview of the Tampa Bay Derby, the first of the big derbies, ending one of the trails. We'll try to get a bunch of different people from down there in Tampa, but of course, Jason Beam and Ren Crothers and of course our guy Barry Spears will make it happen for you next week. Again, I'm Louis Rabeau. This has been the Horse Racing Happy Hour.